In the year 870,000 AD, the Galactic Federation ruled over a peaceful galaxy, keeping order among its many races. For centuries, the Federation had enjoyed a time of calm, free from the chaos of war. The galaxy had grown used to this peace, and no one thought that anything could threaten it. There were old legends about a race that had once been a great power, feared by all the humans. But those were just stories. The humans, it was believed, had destroyed themselves long ago in a terrible war, leaving only ruins behind. The Federation had forgotten them. The galaxy had forgotten them. However, deep in the outer edges of the galaxy, something stirred. The Federation's most advanced sensors detected a strange energy source near a forgotten star system. At first, they thought it was just another glitch in their systems, a mistake. But the signal kept coming, growing stronger. Curious, a small fleet of Federation ships was sent to investigate. What they found was beyond their wildest imaginations, a massive, ancient ship, unlike anything they had ever seen before, floating in the darkness of space. It was old, covered in centuries of dust and debris, but it was unmistakable. This ship, they realized, was human. The Federation was stunned. Could it be? Had the humans survived somehow? Or was this just a remnant of a long-lost civilization? When the Federation's team boarded the ship and began their scans, they found something even more unbelievable. Humans. Hundreds of them, still in cryosleep, preserved in time, as though they had never left. The scientists marveled at the discovery, but there was no time to waste. They had to wake the humans and learn what had happened to them. Carefully, the humans were awakened from their deep sleep. They were disoriented, confused, and unsure of where they were. The Federation greeted them with awe and curiosity, but the humans remained silent, taking in their surroundings. It had been thousands of years since they had seen the light of another star, and the galaxy they woke up to was completely different from the one they had left behind. At first, the Federation treated the humans as lost, helpless relics from the past. They provided them with food and water, trying to explain the galaxy they now lived in. But the humans were no ordinary species. Their minds, though dormant for centuries, were still sharp. It didn't take long for them to understand the basics of the Federation's technology and the structure of the galaxy. The humans' natural intelligence and adaptability were astonishing. In just a few days, they began to learn faster than anyone could have imagined. Their sharp minds, honed by the harsh battles of their past, had not dulled with time. They had only grown stronger in the silence of cryosleep. The Federation was impressed, but also nervous. What were these humans capable of? Could they be the peaceful people the Federation hoped for, or were they a new threat to the galaxy? As the humans continued to learn, they started to display their true nature. They were strategic thinkers, with a deep understanding of military tactics and diplomacy. They were calm and measured, yet powerful. Their minds worked in ways the Federation's leaders could not fully comprehend. Slowly, the Federation realized that the humans were not as helpless as they had once believed. In fact, they might be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Federation's fear grew when the humans began to ask questions about the galaxy's history, the political landscape, and the power structures that held the galaxy together. They wanted to understand everything: how the Federation had risen to power, how they maintained control, and, most importantly, who held the real power. The Federation was unsure how to respond. They had no reason to fear the humans yet. But there was something unsettling about the way they asked these questions. It was as if they were already planning their next move, as if they knew more than they were letting on. One day, the Federation received a surprise. A report came in from a distant planet, one that had been under Federation control for centuries. The report claimed that the planet's leaders were suddenly declaring independence, rejecting the Federation's authority. As the Federation scrambled to figure out what was happening, they received more reports. Planets across the galaxy were rebelling, one by one. And in every instance, a single factor seemed to be present: the humans. The Federation quickly realized that the humans were no longer just passive observers. They were taking control, one planet at a time. They weren't using brute force or violence. They were using their intelligence, their strategic minds, and their ability to unite people. The humans were starting to bring together discontented races and governments, convincing them that they didn't need the Federation's rule. And, without firing a single shot, they were dismantling the Federation's power from the inside out. The Federation panicked. What had once been a peaceful alliance was now facing a crisis. The humans, it seemed, had never been truly defeated. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to return. And now they were rising up, taking back what had once been theirs. As the human influence spread, the Federation sent fleet after fleet to stop them, but each time, the humans outsmarted them. They used their ancient knowledge of warfare and negotiation to stay one step ahead. The tension in the galaxy reached a boiling point. The Federation, once so confident in its peace and stability, was now at the mercy of a race they had once thought extinct. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. The humans had returned, and they were not here to play by the Federation's rules. They were here to take what they believed was rightfully theirs. The galaxy was changing. The old powers were crumbling, and the humans were rising. No one knew what would happen next, but one thing was clear: the forgotten warriors of humanity had returned, and they were not going to be ignored again. The Federation had to make a choice: stand against them or join them. The fate of the galaxy rested in their hands, and they could feel the weight of that decision bearing down on them. The humans had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy was at peace. For centuries, the Galactic Federation had controlled the stars, maintaining a fragile order. The galaxy's many species, each with their own unique cultures and histories, had lived under the Federation's rule, believing that the chaos of past wars was long behind them. The Federation's fleet patrolled the space lanes, and no one questioned their dominance. But all of that was about to change, and it would start with the humans and ancient species thought to have vanished long ago. In the year 870,000 AD, a strange and unexplained signal began to echo through the galaxy. At first, no one paid attention. The signal was weak and faint, barely noticeable. But as time went on, it grew stronger, its frequency increasing with every passing day. The Federation's top scientists scrambled to identify the source, but their efforts led to more confusion. The signal didn't match anything they knew. It wasn't from any known species, and the technology behind it was unlike anything in the galaxy. It seemed to be coming from the edge of the galaxy itself, from a region that had been deemed uninhabitable for millennia. Curious and anxious, the Federation dispatched a fleet to investigate. The fleet arrived at a barren star system, its planets long abandoned and its stars dimming. There, hidden in the cold darkness of space, they found an enormous ship, an ancient human vessel, drifting in silence. Its metal surface was scarred by the ravages of time, but the ship was unmistakable. It was human. For the Federation, this was more than just a discovery. It was a shocking revelation. How could humans still be alive? They had been thought extinct, wiped out in a war that had left their homeworld in ruins. As Federation scientists boarded the ship, they found something even more incredible. Inside, the cryo chambers were still functioning, keeping the humans inside in perfect preservation. Hundreds of them, frozen in time. At first, the Federation assumed that the humans had died long ago, and the ship had simply drifted in space, waiting for its final end. But as they checked the systems, they realized the humans were alive, still frozen in their chambers, waiting to awaken. The team knew they had to act quickly. They had to wake them up. The human race, it seemed, had not been destroyed after all. The process of waking the humans was slow and delicate. The cryo chambers were old and unstable, and it took time to ensure the humans would not be harmed. As each human was awakened, they looked around, confused and disoriented. Their faces showed signs of fear and uncertainty. They had been asleep for thousands of years, and the galaxy they now found themselves in was foreign and unknown. They were lost in time, unable to comprehend how so much had changed. But despite their confusion, there was one thing that remained unchanged: the strength, intelligence, and determination that had once made humanity a force to be reckoned with. The Federation's initial goal was to help the humans adjust. They offered them shelter, food, and information about the galaxy they now inhabited. But the humans weren't interested in sympathy. They didn't need the Federation's help. They wanted answers. They demanded to know what had happened to their people, where their homeworld was, and why they had been forgotten. They had no idea what had caused their race to fall. But they knew one thing: they were not the weak, lost species the Federation had expected. As the humans began to regain their bearings, it became clear that they were not helpless victims. They were powerful, intelligent, and resourceful. They quickly learned how to use the Federation's technology, adapting to it faster than anyone had anticipated. But it wasn't just technology they had mastered. They had a natural gift for strategy and tactics. Their military minds, once honed by centuries of war, were still sharp. The humans knew how to organize, how to fight, and, most importantly, the Federation's leaders watched in growing fear. The humans were not just rebuilding, they were rapidly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Their influence spread across the galaxy as they began to organize and unite the fragmented species that had long lived under the Federation's control. Slowly, the humans began to form alliances with those who were dissatisfied with the Federation's rule. They offered a different way of life, one built on strength, loyalty, and freedom. To the disenfranchised species of the galaxy, the humans were a symbol of hope and power. And for the Federation, this was the beginning of their worst nightmare. Soon, it became clear that the humans were not content to merely survive. They wanted to reclaim their place in the galaxy, and they were willing to fight for it. The Federation tried to ignore the growing human movement, hoping it would fade away. But the humans were relentless. They struck quickly and decisively, taking control of key star systems, cutting off Federation supply lines, and crippling their defenses. The Federation sent fleet after fleet to put down the uprising, but the humans were always one step ahead, using their superior tactics and cunning to outmaneuver them at every turn. The battles were swift and brutal. The humans, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity and precision that shocked their enemies. They never hesitated. They never backed down. And as they continued to win battle after battle, their confidence grew. The Federation, once so sure of its power, began to falter. They tried to negotiate with the humans, but the humans were not interested in peace. They wanted control. They wanted respect. And they would stop at nothing to get it. As the humans continued to rise, the galaxy was thrown into chaos. The once dominant Federation was now on the defensive, struggling to maintain its hold on power. The humans, once thought to be extinct, had returned not as victims, but as conquerors. The Federation realized too late that they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the humans, and now they would pay the price. The galaxy was about to change forever. The humans were no longer the forgotten race. They were the new power in the galaxy, and the Federation had no choice but to face them. As the human forces advanced, the Federation realized that their peaceful rule was coming to an end. The humans had awakened, and with them, a new era had begun. The galaxy would never be the same again. For eons, the galaxy had existed under the tight grip of the Galactic Federation. It was an empire built on order and peace, but underneath the surface, a quiet tension brewed. The Federation had seen countless species rise and fall, yet one race remained a distant memory, almost forgotten by time itself. The humans, once a proud and fearsome species, were believed to have perished in the great wars of the past. The Federation had no reason to fear them. After all, they had not existed for millennia. Or so they thought. In the year 870,000 AD, a strange anomaly was detected at the edge of the galaxy. At first, it was just another glitch in the Federation's advanced sensors, something to dismiss and forget. But as the signal persisted, it began to grow stronger, more distinct. Something ancient was awakening. The Federation, intrigued and cautious, decided to investigate. A fleet was dispatched to the edge of known space, to a remote system where the signal had originated. The ship's crew was prepared for anything except the truth that awaited them. As the fleet entered the system, they encountered something unimaginable, a massive, derelict human starship, lost in the void for untold millennia. The ship's surface was battered and scarred, evidence of long-forgotten battles, but its advanced technology still hummed with life. The Federation crew was stunned. This ship, which should have been a relic of the past, was still intact. And it wasn't just the ship that was still alive. The cryochambers within the ship were filled with thousands of humans, frozen in time, waiting to awaken. The Federation scrambled to understand the situation. They assumed that this was a long-forgotten remnant of humanity, left behind after the wars that had ravaged their homeworld. But when they opened the cryochambers and began to revive the humans, they found something far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. The humans were not weak and frail. They were not victims of a lost age. They were warriors, their minds and bodies preserved for millennia, ready to strike back at a galaxy that had forgotten them. At first, the humans were disoriented, confused by the galaxy they had awoken to. The Federation tried to explain everything, but the humans listened only briefly. Their eyes, filled with anger and determination, told a different story. The Federation quickly realized that these humans were not interested in their peace and order. They had a different purpose. They wanted answers, and more than that, they wanted to reclaim what had been taken from them. The humans were not easily swayed. Despite their confusion, they had a deep understanding of their past, of the wars they had fought, and the strategies that had made them feared throughout the galaxy. They began to question the Federation's power, its control over the galaxy's many species. Why had the Federation risen to such heights? What had happened to their people, the ones who had once ruled the stars? It didn't take long for the humans to begin organizing. They were quick to adapt to the Federation's technology, their sharp minds learning faster than anyone could have imagined. They were not just survivors, they were strategists, tacticians, and leaders. They began to unite the discontented species that had long suffered under the Federation's rule. Slowly, the humans' influence began to spread, like a quiet storm building in the background, unnoticed by the Federation until it was too late. The Federation, at first, thought of the humans as a curiosity, an ancient species with no real power left. But as the humans began to unite those who had been oppressed, the Federation grew nervous. Planets that had once been loyal to the Federation were now questioning its rule, listening to the humans' message of rebellion. The sleeping giants had awoken, and they were not content to simply live in peace. They wanted revenge. They wanted to reclaim their rightful place among the stars, and they were willing to fight for it. The humans' first strike came without warning. A fleet of human warships, sleek and powerful, appeared out of nowhere. The Federation's defenses were caught off guard, and within hours, key star systems had fallen. The humans, with their ancient knowledge of warfare and their mastery of advanced technology, were unstoppable. The Federation tried to retaliate, but their fleets were no match for the humans' tactical brilliance. Every attempt to fight back only ended in failure. The Federation's leaders watched in horror as their empire began to crumble. The humans were striking back with a fury that no one had expected. They used their enemies' own tactics against them, turning the Federation's own strength into a weakness. The humans, though outnumbered, were able to dismantle the Federation's powerful fleets, one by one. They fought not just with weapons, but with cunning, exploiting every weakness, every blind spot in the Federation's defenses. As the war raged on, the galaxy began to change. The humans' message spread across the stars. The time of the Federation was over. The Federation's once mighty fleets were now in retreat, unable to stop the tide of human rebellion. The galaxy's many species, once held in check by the Federation's power, began to rise up. They saw the humans, not as invaders, but as liberators. With each victory, the humans gained more support. The Federation's once loyal allies began to question their allegiance. Slowly, the Federation's control began to unravel. The humans, once thought lost and forgotten, had returned. And now, they were unstoppable. They had not just woken from their slumber, they had awakened with a purpose. They were taking back what was once theirs, and they were willing to fight to the very end to do so. The Federation had underestimated them, and now they would pay the price. The sleeping giants had awakened, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. As the war reached its climax, the Federation was left with one final choice: surrender or face total destruction. The humans had won. Their strike had been swift, calculated, and devastating. The galaxy was theirs for the taking, and the Federation, once proud and powerful, had fallen. The sleeping giants had risen, and their wrath had shaken the very foundations of the galaxy. The galaxy was in chaos. For centuries, the Galactic Federation had maintained peace, but beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Alien species, once under the Federation's control, had grown restless. Corruption, deceit, and war had spread like a virus, and now the Federation was on the brink of collapse. Powerful enemies, long kept in check, began to stir. The Federation's military was stretched thin, and its political influence was crumbling. It was only a matter of time before the entire galaxy would fall into darkness. And then, out of nowhere, a signal appeared. It was faint at first, just a whisper on the edge of the galaxy, but it was enough to catch the attention of the Federation's top scientists. The signal was old, very old, and the technology behind it was unlike anything they had seen. It didn't match any known species, and yet it seemed eerily familiar. It was a distress signal, but from where? The source was far beyond the reach of the Federation's territories, deep in the unexplored regions of space. The Federation, desperate to find any advantage in these dark times, dispatched an expedition to investigate. The journey was long, and many feared that it was a wild goose chase. But when the fleet arrived at the source of the signal, what they discovered shook them to their core. There, floating in the cold void of space, was a massive human warship, long abandoned and forgotten. It was a relic of a time before the Federation's rise to power, its hull scarred and battered by centuries of neglect. But it was not empty. Inside the ship, there were signs of life: cryochambers filled with humans, frozen in time, their bodies perfectly preserved. The Federation scientists were stunned. How could this be? Humans had been thought extinct, wiped out in an ancient war that had shattered their civilization. They had been gone for thousands of years, their homeworld destroyed. And yet, here they were alive, waiting to awaken. The Federation immediately began the process of reviving them, unsure of what to expect. Were these humans just survivors of the past, or were they something more? Something dangerous? They had been asleep for eons, and the galaxy they found themselves in was a far cry from the one they had known. The Federation tried to explain everything, to welcome them back into the fold, but the humans were not interested in their stories of peace and order. They had a different mission, one that had been passed down through generations. The humans had been in cryosleep for one reason: to return when the galaxy needed them most. And now, that time had come. The humans had not forgotten their past. They were not the helpless, broken people the Federation had imagined. They were warriors, trained in the art of combat and strategy, their minds sharp and their bodies strong. They had fought in wars that spanned the stars, and they knew what it took to survive. They had seen entire civilizations rise and fall, and they had learned the harshest lessons of war. They were survivors, not just of their own destruction, but of the galaxy's many battles. The humans quickly realized that the Federation was not the peaceful protector it claimed to be. The once glorious empire had become corrupt and weak, its leaders more concerned with maintaining their power than with protecting the galaxy. The galaxy was now on the brink of annihilation, and the Federation's fleets were no match for the growing threats on the horizon. The humans knew that the galaxy needed saving, but the Federation, blind to its own decay, refused to acknowledge it.so. The humans did what they had always done: they took matters into their own hands. They began to organize, using their military knowledge to recruit those who were tired of the Federation's rule. They formed alliances with the galaxy's oppressed species, those who had suffered under the Federation's iron fist. The humans knew that to defeat the Federation, they would need to unite the galaxy's scattered forces and strike quickly, before it was too late. As the humans began to mobilize, the Federation grew fearful. They had underestimated the humans, believing them to be a forgotten race, lost to time. But now, it was clear that the humans were no mere relics. They were the galaxy's last hope. With each passing day, more species joined their cause. The galaxy's oppressed, the forgotten, the lost, they all turned to the humans for leadership. The Federation, realizing the threat, sent fleets to stop the rebellion. But it was too late. The humans had already made their move. The first battles were swift and brutal. The humans fought with the precision and determination of a race that had been forged in war. They used their advanced technology, their knowledge of the galaxy's many species, and their sheer will to push the Federation's forces back. The Federation was caught off guard, their fleets scattered and disorganized. The humans, though, outnumbered, fought with a relentless fury that left their enemies in disarray. They struck at the heart of the Federation, targeting their most strategic worlds, crippling their war machines. The galaxy was on the brink of total war. As the humans advanced, the Federation began to collapse from within. Their political alliances shattered, and their fleets were unable to stem the tide of rebellion. The humans, once thought to be a myth, had returned not just to survive, but to lead the galaxy into a new era. They had awakened for a reason, to save the galaxy from the Federation's corruption and to restore balance to the stars. The Federation, now desperate, made one final attempt to crush the rebellion. They threw everything they had at the humans, but it wasn't enough. The humans had a strength that the Federation could not match. With each victory, the humans gained more support, and their influence spread like wildfire. The galaxy was no longer under the Federation's control. It was under the humans' command. As the humans marched toward victory, the galaxy watched in awe. The last hope of the galaxy had returned, and it was clear that nothing could stand in their way. The Federation had underestimated the humans, and now they would pay the price. The galaxy was about to be reborn, and the humans would be the ones to lead it. The galaxy had fallen into a state of uneasy peace. The Galactic Federation, once a powerful empire, was now slowly crumbling under the weight of its own corruption. The leaders of the Federation were no longer the unyielding force they once were, and their military might had begun to weaken. Old enemies had started to resurface, their hatred of the Federation growing stronger each day. There was no one left who could stop the inevitable collapse that seemed to loom on the horizon. The stars that had once gleamed brightly with hope now seemed cold and distant, lost in a universe filled with fear and uncertainty. And then, just as the Federation believed they were on the verge of collapse, something happened. Something they never could have predicted. Far on the edge of the galaxy, beyond the reach of even the Federation's most advanced ships, a strange signal was picked up by the Federation's distant outposts. At first, it was dismissed as a fluke and anomaly that couldn't possibly be anything of consequence. But as the signal grew stronger, more consistent, it became impossible to ignore. It came from deep within a long-forgotten sector, an area once inhabited by humans. But the humans had been thought to have vanished, their homeworld destroyed in a catastrophic war long ago. No one had heard from them in thousands of years. The Federation, despite their many advanced technologies, couldn't make sense of the signal's source. Was it a distress call? A trap? No one knew. But the Federation had no choice. They had to investigate. They sent out a fleet, armed to the teeth, to follow the signal and discover what lay at the end. The journey was dangerous. The Federation's fleet had to navigate through treacherous regions of space, past hostile star systems and ancient ruins, to find the source of the signal. Days turned into weeks as the fleet pushed forward, unaware that the signal wasn't leading them into a trap, it was leading them into a new era. When the fleet finally arrived at the source, they were shocked beyond belief. In the cold, dark reaches of space, they discovered an ancient human warship. It was a massive vessel, its hull battered by the ravages of time, but still intact, still filled with life. The ship had been dormant, hidden from the universe for millennia, but now it was stirring. The Federation's crew cautiously boarded the vessel, unsure of what they would find. Inside, they discovered the impossible: thousands of humans, cryogenically frozen, preserved in time, waiting to awaken. They were not just survivors. They were warriors, soldiers who had once fought in wars that spanned the stars. And now, they were waking up to a galaxy on the brink of war once more.